Here I've got the dual passive low pass gate module from Laurentide Synthworks. It's a 4 HP completely passive module with 2 low pass gates with an input and an output and a CV control. And there's also a tone control as well for shaping the high frequency content that's at the input. Here I have an input from an oscillator which is going through the green stackable to be multied down into the second low pass gate's input. I've got random triggers going into the CV input, and then we're going to listen to the direct output. So that's just some random triggers striking the Vactrols, and if I slow this down you can hear this nice tightly exponential response that does ring at a nice low level before actually cutting out. Speeding up the random triggers, here's the second output, which is a lot shorter response on the Vactrol on that part of the module. So both outputs have a nice hard exponential attack, but the second is a much tighter and shorter response. Both LPGs have a nice tone control which is labelled LPF, a low pass filter, and this works like a tone control on a guitar. So that's it for the features, let's get stuck into some other patches. I've got a simple sequence playing, and I've got an envelope as my CV input to the module, and I'm using internal normalizing to send that to the second low pass gate as well. I'm going to mix both outputs on the unit simply with a Make Noise Optimix which is next to the module. And the first unit's got my oscillator at its input, and the second low pass gate at the bottom of the module has got noise at the input. We've got tone control for both low pass gates. And what works really well in this instance is that the ring on the top low pass gate is longer than the bottom one, so I'm going to use that top low pass gate for my oscillator's output, so that's going to ring slightly longer than the noise that's at the input of the bottom part of the module. And then we can use the module to process the sounds and mix them together. And we can change the tone of that noise. The dual LPG is great for mixing 2 parts of the same patch to layer up in a production, and mixing the different responses on the different Vactrols works really well for shaping your sounds. Here's the unit with CV this time, and the top low pass gate is taking an LFO from the Batumi module, which you can see to the left, and I've got some cross patching on that Batumi for some more interesting LFO shapes. I'm sending a high voltage coming from a gate every time I press a pad on my pressure points to the module to open up the low pass gate. So you can see in here that unit passes the LFO through each time a high voltage opens up the low pass gate. So here's playing with the pressure points to open and close that LPG. So the unit works great for CV as well as audio. At the minute you can hear my sound in the background, which is a sound I've got going into a separate VCA off screen, and that's fully open at the minute, and so far what you're hearing has got nothing to do with these passive low pass gates. I've got a large offset signal going into the input of the low pass gates, and I'm splitting that down into the bottom low pass gate as well. I'm then going to add CV, which is normal to both low pass gates when no signal is present on the bottom part of the module. I'm going to add a square wave clock to the CV input to open that low pass gate and let the offset through. And this is actually going to create an envelope, because it's not just going to pass the offset through when the square wave is high, you're also going to get the ring of that Vactrol, creating this LPG Vactrol envelope shape. So here's the unit's output into a VCA, and I'm going to use the envelope we're creating on this low pass gate to actually open the separate VCA. So the output of the low pass gate is sending a signal to open up the VCA, and you can see the image on screen to help visualize what's happening. And the pulse width of that square wave clock that's going into the low pass gate to open it is going to affect the response of the units. So here's a thinner pulse width. and then a wider pulse width. And one thing to note is that the different low pass gates respond differently because of the variation in the vectorals. So here's the second one. And you can hear the tone of my patches changing, which is external and a sound created elsewhere in the modular, but we're listening to these different responses of the vectorals. If I add modulation to my square wave clock's pulse width, we'll get varying envelope shapes created with these vectorals that are then opening up the VCA. So just with a simple offset at the input and a square wave clock into the CV, we can create a vectoral envelope to send anywhere around your system, and here it's just opening up the VCA. So the dual passive low pass gates module is a simple one that works really well to add both some tonal and amplitude modulation to both audio and CV in your system. And it doesn't require any power, which is a bonus if you're stretching the power in your case. Hit like and subscribe for more videos every week, and check the Patreon link in the description to see how you can support my channel.